let's look at the top 5 most important Browns games this upcoming season. Now that we got the schedule in our hands, it's a much more easier way to digest the 2024 season. So let's recap the Browns schedule really quickly, and then we'll look at my top 5 most important games for Cleveland. So the Browns open up the season at home against the Dallas Cowboys before going to Jacksonville, then back home to Cleveland against the G-Men, then off to Vegas against the Raiders for the first of 3 straight road games, followed by the Commanders and Eagles. Week 7, home against Burrow and the Bengals. Then Lamar and the Ravens come to town. Week 9 marks their 3rd straight home game with the Chargers visiting. Week 10, they get a bye. Following the bye, they're down to the Big Easy to showdown with the Saints. Week 12, home Thursday night against the Steelers. Week 13, across the country playing in Denver on Monday night. Week 14, back again against the Steelers, but in Pittsburgh. Week 15, home against Mahomes and the Chiefs. Week 16 in Cincinnati on Thursday night, followed by Week 17's home matchup on Sunday night against Miami. And Week 18, they wrap up the year in Baltimore. So that's the Browns schedule. We're going to look at my top 5 most important games for Kevin Stefanski and crew this year. But if you are looking for an off-season Browns channel, look no further. We're one of the fastest growing Browns YouTube communities out there with over 34,000 plus subscribers. So come along, hang out with us all off-season long. We're going to continue putting out daily content all the way up to training camp and, of course, throughout the entire season as well. Now, coming in at number 5 for the top 5 games this year for Cleveland, I'm going to go with Week 15 against the Chiefs. I bet a lot of you, when you clicked on this video, thought this game's definitely going to be on this list, and it'll probably be number 1. But I don't think it is the most important game for the Browns in 2024. It's not as crucial as you might think to beat Kansas City in the regular season. In fact, it's somewhat of a curse to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. There's a long history of teams taking down Kansas City in the regular season, and then when they rematch in the postseason, it doesn't go as well as it did the first time. In fact, the Chiefs are 5-2 in the playoffs against teams that they lost to in the regular season since Patrick Mahomes took over back in 2018. So it's not easy to beat Kansas City twice. So I wouldn't say lose to the Chiefs ever, but it's not easy to beat them twice. So if you're going to beat them once, it would preferably be in the postseason than the regular season. But of course, this will be a very important game for the Browns to measure up against the standard, the team to beat, the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 4, game number 4, I'm going to go with Week 1, home against the Cowboys. Week 1 is not as crucial as fan bases make it out to be. You can win, you can lose, your season's not over. It's not like the percentages of teams that go to the playoffs or the Super Bowl is drastic based on how you do in Week 1. In fact, I looked back at all the Super Bowl winners since 2000, and all those teams in Week 1, they went 16-8. So good, but it's not as lopsided as you may have thought, right? Those teams are winning 2/3 out of the time. Like, it's a really important week, of course, because you want to step, off on the right foot. But 16-8, there's 8 teams that won a Super Bowl that started off 0-1, and the Giants were like 0-2. So by no means is your season done if you lose Week 1. But this matchup favors Cleveland. That's why it's on this list, not because it would be really nice for the Browns to start off 1-0. Of course, that would be nice. But more importantly, they're at home against the Cowboys, and I sort of get shades of last year's Week 1 with the high-powered Bengals offense coming to town. And this defense is going to be flying around. They're going to be as healthy as possible Week 1. So the Cowboys, they're going to be successful this year if they are because of their offense, which means I want the Browns defense at, top speed. And that's going to be in Week 1 compared to later on in the year. So if you're playing the Cowboys early on and your defense is healthy, you got to capitalize on that with a win. Third most important game for the Browns this year. This one may catch you by surprise, but I think it's going to be Week 11 in New Orleans against the Saints. Does it have major ramifications for the AFC wildcard or divisional race? No, it doesn't. But this is the game the Browns play following their bye, and I think it's really important for the Browns to win after their bye because that's the goal for every team in the NFL, to use that added rest and come out fresher than the other team the next week. Under Kevin Stefanski, the Browns are 3-1. Their lone loss was in Miami against the Dolphins. The total points, though, they're being outscored 85-70 under Stefanski following the bye. So the Saints the previous week, they are at home against the Atlanta Falcons in week 10. So they're not going to be playing on a very short week. It's not like they're on Monday Night Football and the Browns are kind of, getting even extra level of rest on top of the opponent. They're not traveling in from a late game over on the West Coast or anything. They'll be pretty well rested leading up to week 11 against Cleveland. But for the Browns, if they come off the bye and look rusty, it's just going to be a waste of a bye week. So for Cleveland, I think it's really important to capitalize on that bye week and go win in a very hostile and difficult place to play, which is, the Superdome down in New Orleans. Now, before we look at games 1 and 2 on my list, if you want to get yourself a really cool Browns USA themed t-shirt, go to chatsports.com/CLEUSA. We've got Memorial Day weekend right around the corner, then Flag Day, one of my favorite days. Then we got 4th of July. So if you want to rep the red, white, and blue while also supporting the Cleveland Browns, chatsports.com/CLEUSA. Coming in at number 2, I'm going to go with the Bengals. Week 7 at home. The first of what would be 6 AFC North opponents. And I think it's really important for the Browns to come out on top of this game. For starters, the following week they play against the Baltimore Ravens at home. So if the Browns were to drop this game against Cincinnati, it won't be any easier the very next week with the defending AFC North champs coming to town. So then you could be looking at 0-2 in the AFC North down the barrel, which would make this game even more important to make sure you give yourself a little bit of breathing room at home against a team and a quarterback you have dominated at home. The last time the Cincinnati Bengals came into Cleveland and knocked off the Browns, week 4 of 2017, Myles Garrett's rookie year. Deshaun Kaiser was the quarterback. I think Kevin Hogan came in that game. It's been a long time, and the Browns have dominated the Battle of Ohio, right? Joe Burrow against the Browns all time is 1-5. Guy couldn't complete a pass to save his life in week 1 last year in Cleveland. So this is a game and a rivalry that the Browns have dominated the last almost decade at this point, closing in on it. And it's really important that they flex their muscles at home before entering a really tough stretch towards the end of the season. Final game in my top 5 most important games for Cleveland this year. You probably sniffed this one out. Week 12, home, Steelers, Thursday Night Football. This, to me, if I could pick one game to win, I would pick this one. Probably pick the Chiefs one because that's more difficult, but there's the emotion side of it. I want to see the Browns shit pump the Steelers. There's just no other way around this, okay? There's a lot at stake here. For starters, the last time the Browns had 3 straight home wins against Pittsburgh, back in the 90s. 91, 92, 93. The last time they swept the Pittsburgh Steelers in a season, which could happen this year, 1988. I think on yesterday's video I said 89. I got lost in the calendar. That's my bad. Sorry, everyone. The last time the Steelers played on Thursday Night Football, last 5 appearances, they are 1-4. It has been tough sledding for Tom's crew on Thursday Night Football recently. Mike Tomlins. Pittsburgh, the last Thursday night win against Cleveland, 2011. Now, they don't play every year, of course, so that's not all that shocking, if you will. Pittsburgh's last road Thursday Night Football win, 2016. So it has been not easy for the Steelers on Thursday night. Of course, the last time these two teams played on Thursday night in Cleveland was, week 3 of 2022. Remember, Jacoby Brissett had a really strong game. Martin Emerson was going up against George Pickens all night. Mitch Trubisky was running for his life. So the Browns beat the crap out of the Steelers that night, and I hope they do the same this night here. Because when you look at the Browns' schedule, it's not easy, right? Especially when you look at the back half of the schedule. The Browns, after they play the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got some tough games coming up, right? The Browns' second half of the season, which we can throw on screen for you guys in just a moment, they've got tough games against other AFC North opponents like the Baltimore Ravens, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, let's just count them out. After the Steelers, they play 1, 2, 3, 4 games against teams that were in the playoffs last year. And the teams that weren't in the playoffs they're playing, the Broncos on the road. Denver went 8-9 last year. They weren't that bad of a team. And the Cincinnati Bengals went 9-8 and just missed the playoffs. So it just goes to show that after that Steelers Week 12 game, it's not going to get any easier. So you really got to make the most out of being at home in front of the dog pound. Meanwhile, the Steelers, by the way, it's arguably even more difficult after the Thursday night game they have against Cleveland. So you know they're going to be hungry for a win because they follow up that Thursday night game with a road game in Cincinnati. Then the Browns come to town, and then at Philly, at Baltimore, home against Kansas City, home against Cincinnati. So if the Browns can knock off the Steelers in Week 12, can't you kind of picture right now Steelers, Pittsburgh sports radio going, the Steelers have to win this game if they want to stay alive in the playoff race, because after this game, it's only going to get tougher with the AFC Championship finalists in there and the Eagles and the Bengals twice and the Browns again. So with that all being said, who is your biggest thorn in the AFC North? Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. Let me know down in the comment section below. For me, it's always F-Pitt season. But those are the top 5 most important games for the upcoming season in my eyes. Let me know which games you agree or disagree with. Always appreciate those of you that watch our content all the way to the end of the video. So let's bring on producer Reed for Pick a Card. Reed, which card would you like to go with?
Let's see here.
While we're young.
7 of diamonds.
Okay, 7 of diamonds?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Jack of clubs. Here we go. No. 5 of clubs.
Oh,
5 of
close
clubs.
though.
Close indeed. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll catch up later.